Shalom, Rebecca, sister. Hey, peace and blessing you in your household. Say Adonai. I'll say Shalom, Yahawah, sister. Salakia for a second. It seems like they want to connect with that. Salakia. Check out some more connections if possible. It seemed like I wasn't able to connect to a Wi-Fi, so Salaki about that. You know, I'm just checking the connection, see if the connection is good, see if the sound is good. But hey, if that's the case, I just flow through the spirit, you know, all the rocks out. Right. So as I was bringing out those, news articles, you know, and so despite the fact Iran and the United States, they got signed a deal. So, hey, that lets you know, hey, despite the fact they might sign that deal, that lets you know that the United States is going to be out of the picture. And then Iran and Israel potentially might heat back up once again. And we've definitely seen signs of it. You know? And that's why you had Trump had that phone call between, I believe, Lebanon and over there in Israel as well, too. He called both of them. He's saying, like, hey, both of y'all need to stand down. And we're getting close to a deal. The deal is so close. Why y'all continue to strike one another, you know? We understand y'all can't stand one another. We're trying to get this deal and get it out the way. Hey, Benjamin Netanyahu and leaders of Hezbollah, no, hey, we can't get along with each other, you know. And so we're going to send airstrikes back at one another, you know, as that shows that, hey, we cannot get along with one another, you know. So, like I mentioned again, despite the fact Iran and Israel is going to sign this deal, we don't know when to go, but if they do sign this deal very soon, if it do come to that conclusion, and we're still going to have Iran and Israel still heating up against one another. And you had the top commander of Iran. He said, hey, we still got our finger on the trigger. As we look at Jeremiah chapter 28, hey, Yahawah Wa Yahawashi. Hey, Yahawah Wa Yahawashi got these armies of nations in the trick bag. Hey, just like he got Esau, he in the trick bag, he got these armies of nations in the trick bag. He's still going to got them up over in Western Asia. Bad Jehoshaphat, Armageddon, Armageddon 1. Joel, the 3rd chapter, so this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8. It says in a time to love, in a time of HATE, in a time of war, in a time of peace. Right, so it doesn't matter if they do stand at a peace deal, you still gonna see the nations are still in a time of warlike mindset, and the nations are in that HATE mindset spirit, and we still live in a time of war still, you know. So matter of fact, I bring out that Jeremiah 28 verse 8. Yeah, Jeremiah chapter 28, I'm going to start at verse 7. This is the book of Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 7. It says, nevertheless, hear thou now this word, and that I speak into the ears and the ears of all the people. Jeremiah 28, verse 8. It says, the prophets that have before thee and before thee of old prophesy both against many countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. Right, so we still prophesying against great countries and great kingdoms of war, evil, and pestilence. And that's what we see in our world today, war, evil, and pestilence. And we're prophesying against the great countries, great kingdoms as well, too. And prophesying about war, evil, and pestilence. This is Jeremiah chapter 28, verse 9. It says the prophet was prophesied peace when the word of the prophets come to pass. Then should the prophet be known that Yahawah Wa Yahawashi has truly sent. Why say Yahawah Wa Yahawashi has truly sent the prophets out in ancient times, now in modern times. Because these prophecies, they still going to come to pass in the field. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "And I will stand upon my watch and set upon my tower, when I will watch the sea, when I shall answer unto me, when I reprove." This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 2. It says, "And Yahawah Wa Yahawashi answered and said, write the vision that plain upon the table, right, plain upon the table, that he may run and may read it, right, that he may run and speak unto the house of Israel." Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. It says, "For the vision shall be appointed time, but then shall speak, not lie, tarry, wait for it, because it should come and tarry." And so these are prophecies, they are not tarry, they still going to come to pass and fulfill. Because Yahawah Wa Yahawashi still declared it from the beginning. You know, the Heavenly Father, he doesn't change. He's the ancient of days, like it says in Malachi verse 6. And so these are war, evil, and pestilence, and we're still going to continue to see that in our world. And this is the book of Luke 21 and verse 10. It says, right, more things to come. Luke 21 and verse 10 reads, it says, "Then say he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." Right, and that's what we're seeing. So it's not going to let up. Hey, so you're still going to see modern day uptick of nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom. And that's Iran versus Israel. We're seeing that right now as we speak, before they get close to a deal. And so that lets you know tensions are still there between these armies of nations. So you're still going to see wars and rumors of wars. You're still going to see nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, war, evil, and pestilence. That's only going to continue to increase. That's what we see in our world. So. And this is the book of Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 1. It says the prophecies about Damascus. Isaiah chapter 17 and verse 1. It says the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being the city and should be Israel heathen. So this is a future prophecy that we still see in the making of Damascus and Syria. Still gonna be yeah, it says it should be Israel heathen. So that place is gonna be destroyed still. Isaiah 17 verse 9. It says in that days shall his strong seeds be as forsaken and brought in the uttermost branch, was they left because of the children of Israel, and their children desolate. And so that land of Damascus and Syria is going to be desolate. Because you're still going to have heavy tensions are heating up over there, the cross-border areas between Iraq, Syria, you know, the Golden Heights. Because you still got the IDF, which is Israel defense, which they still on high alert. They ready for another multi-front war. Because you got Iran, they going to respond back. And because you had one of the top Iranian commanders, he said, "We got our finger on the trigger. Hey, despite the fact we might have a peace deal, hey, we still ready to battle against y'all like it never left, like it not like the war haven't been over. You know, we got this little momentary ceasefire. We might potentially fall in the war. Hey, Iran was like, we still ready to battle against y'all. We're not letting up. We're not backing down. You know, and the Israel Defense Force feel the same way." Between the Iranians the same way, and the feelings are mutual. Despite the fact Nero want them to ease the tensions, and even if they do ease the tensions gonna heat back up once again, like they previously did. Hey, the Yahawah Wa Yahawashi. It says, this is the book of Isaiah chapter 13 verse 17. Now, Kremlin, he had made a statement. I think it's from RT.com. I had checked that news article a couple minutes ago. Now, even if Nero 47 got another phone call with Putin, hey, so despite the fact he had previous talks with him, and then he had recent talks with him right now, and so that's still not going to stop the fact that tensions are still going to be there between between the United States and Russia. Those tensions are still going to heat up as well too. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 13 verse 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which they shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in." So the tension between Russia and the United States, that's going to heat back up as well too. So I'm going to get into that Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, while this Russia and Ukraine situation is still intensifying. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 1. Because I believe, what was that, Sweden? They had, I thought that was my niece for a second, kind of looked just like it. What was that news article yesterday? Because they had a close encounter. Because I think you had the Russian, their fighter jets, they encountered with the Sweden fighter jets. It was like a close encounter. So this is not the first time they had close encounters. It was like years back, you know, and recently as well too. So that lets you know that you still got between NATO and Russia. Because NATO recently been calling out Russia for violating their airspace, and then Russia been flying through there in close encounters, close collisions, of course. You know. Let you know the tension between NATO and Russia that been heating up. You know. And this is Ezekiel chapter 38 in verse, what was that, Estonia, I believe they said they warned to Russia about a heavy escalation. It's going to heat up in future. Just like Sweden, they said the same thing. I think that was a news article from yesterday. They were saying that tensions between NATO and Russia it's going to be in the near future. It's getting closer and closer. Because ever since last month, that military exercise from Belarus and Russia, the pending tensions they have against NATO has been heating up, and then NATO having more and more, I'll say like drones, missiles to be deployed over there in the ballistic sea, and then more military building up as of late from NATO over there in the eastern flank and the northern flank over there in Europe. So that lets you know, hey, the tensions have been heating up throughout the years and recently, especially as of recently. So, hey, tensions are really heating up between NATO and Russia. This is Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1. It says, and the word of Yahawah Wa Yahawashi came unto me, saying, Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 2. It says, the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 2, it says, Son of man, set thy face against God and Magog, and the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Right, so we're prophesying against him, just like Ezekiel did, and we're doing these times. So Yahawah Wa Yahawashi put the spirit on Ezekiel to prophesy against God and Magog, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, which is ruled by Esau Edom in these modern day times, because at first it was ruled by Japhet, now it's ruled by Esau Edom. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 3, it says, thus saith Yahawah Wa Yahawashi, behold, I am against thee, O God, chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 4, it says, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth from all thy army, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great couple of books of shields, all of them swords. Right, so that lets you know that's an indicator that Russia, they still be in that warlike mindset, because Russia represents the bear in Ezekiel 38 chapter now. This is Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 5. It says, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with all of them with shield of famine. Right, because I mentioned this previously. I want to mention it once again, because Russia, they got military bases over there in Libya. And then Russia, they got military bases over there in Syria. So I won't be surprised they they have some escalation against those proxy groups and against those Kurdistan armies. And just like the Iranians had since those recent drone strikes over there in those areas over there in Syria. So that lets you know you're still going to have some heavy escalation still heating up over there in Syria, especially Iraq and Syria, definitely particularly over there in Syria. Because you got Turkey, you got military bases over there in Syria. You got Russia, they got military bases over there in Syria. So Russia and Turkey, they're going to team up together. They're going to be going against the Kurdistan armies. They're going to be going against the Syrian Defense Force armies and the Israel Defense Force. Because, and it makes perfect sense because you still got the Israel Defense Force. They still dealing with a multi-front war over there in that area. So best believe, despite the fact that even if they do sign this peace deal, hey, you're still going to have heavy escalation still heating up over there in the area. And this is the book of, continuing on, this is the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 6. It says, Gomer, which is modern day Turkey, and all his bands house in Togarmor of the north quarters, and all his bands many people with him. Right, so I won't be surprised tensions might heat back up between Turkey and Kurdistan, because Turkey is going to team up with Russia and Iran as well too. That's why the Iranians had those recent airstrikes against the Kurdistan armies, because the Kurdistan armies, they was supporting the United States armies, the Syrian Defense Force armies, and the Israel Defense Force armies. So they all going to clash against one another. They're going to be battling out the supposed to. That's what we see in Joel, the 3rd chapter. It says, this is Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 7. And then you're going to have intensity between Turkey and Turkey and Syria. That's going to heat back up once again. This is Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 7. It says, be thou prepared for thyself and all thy companies that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right, so Russia is going to be a guard to these nations. Iran, Ethiopia, Libya, and Turkey. And Cuba, even though they're not part of this in Ezekiel 38 chapter, but Cuba is going to be allies of Russia as well too. Now the United States might target Cuba next once they set their sight away from the Iranian situation. Once they sign that deal, that next target is going to be Cuba. And that's when Russia is going to come into play as well too. And all these nations that Cuba is going to be allies with, so they're going to get involved in it as well too. So all this is going to stir up to the Third World War. And this is the book of, some of you have that. Yeah, it's the book of Luke. Matter of fact, Revelations. Yeah, Revelations. Yeah, it's the book of Revelations, chapter 9, verse 14. It says, Revelations 9, verse 12. It says, the one woe passed, and behold, there come two woes hereafter. Why? So one woe passed, behold, there come two woes hereafter. And this is the book of Revelations. 11 verse 14. It says, the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Right, so the second will pass, behold, the third will come quickly. Armageddon, Armageddon. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out. So back out here again, once again, on the highways, hedges, cheapest concourse. Salakia for the internet connection. The internet connection is kind of tweaking. So hopefully this was edifying. Out here once again for the second time on the highways and hedges, the cheapest concourse. And shalom to Rebecca's sister, a peace and blessings to your household, Aqua sister. And rock thumb to the elders and apostles for Aqua, as we continue lifting up the names of the heavenly Father, Yahawah's only begotten Son, Mashiach HaMashiach. Those are the true names of the ancient Hebrew, Hebrew, God's holy tongue. And with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to say Yahawah, Wa Yahawashi, Wa Hashem, Wa Kadash. And the Heavenly Father, true name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son, Wa Hashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahawashi. And those are the true names in the ancient Hebrew, God's holy tongue. And I say rock a thumb to the elders and apostles, Wa Akim, Wa Aqua. Until next time, I will say Kwame Shrubber, and above all, and Shalom.